furnace that we have here is an older Carrier. It's an 80% furnace, so that means out of every dollar that you spend on it is giving you 80 cents back, and it's wasting 20 cents. The newer furnaces nowadays are 95% furnaces. That means out of every dollar that you spend in there, it gives you 95 cents back, and it's only wasting 5%. Also, the efficiency of the air conditioning in this system is, as an older unit, is probably 7 or 8 SEER, and the minimum efficiency right now is a 13 SEER, which you can go to a much higher SEER rating depending on the use, to see if it's even going to pay you the money back. But the higher the SEER rating, the more money it saves you. Same thing with the furnace. This is an 80% furnace, so if you were to replace this with a 95% furnace, it saves you more money down the road. It's just, you got to see how much usage you get out of it to see if you get that money back. Alright, so there's, like I said, if this coil right here that needs to be cleaned, if the system, if there is any problem with it, this flue has to be taken out. You need to remove these panels, get to the coil, and the coil, I've seen unexperienced technicians try to clean the top of it. That is very easy accessible, but it's actually in between the coil that you need to get to clean. And some of them are so difficult that you may have to pump the unit down, cut your refrigeration pipes, get the whole thing out, clean it, and put it back in. It's almost cheaper to get a new coil. It's not something we want to do at home, because of the major part that this flue carries your carbon monoxide, your exhaust gases out of the house through the flue and outside. And if you do not put this back in here, you are risking of having carbon monoxide gas in your house. So when I was cleaning the motor, I was mentioning about the dust and dirt and everything that bypasses your filter and accumulates on your motor and eventually on your heater coil and your furnace coil, your air conditioning coil, and that can block up the air. And this is the stuff that accumulates over the years. And I've had coils that I've taken apart, and I have literally pulled out a sheet of dirt from them, maybe an 1/8 to a 1/16 of an inch thick, that was just layered over the coil, because a lot of folks did not know that they're supposed to be putting a filter in their system. That filter is the most important thing a homeowner can do to their system. Okay, so once again, I can never insist enough, filter is the most important part of the system. If you take the time once every couple of months, put the data on it, replace the filter on a regular basis, there is nothing more a homeowner can do to their system to protect it than replacing that filter on a regular basis. $2-3 per filter could save you $300-400, $500 on a coil cleaning job. Okay, now that we are done with cleaning the furnace, we are going to plug this system back on. I have somebody by the thermostat, and I'm going to ask them to turn the fan on for me. Check the ampere on the furnace, on the fan, the blower fan, just to make sure it's running within spec, and also on the run capacitor. And that's another way of verifying that our run capacitor is good. Next, we'll have him turn the fan back to off. I'm going to reinstall the blower panel door, and I'm going to ask him to turn the furnace on for me. As you notice, this does not have an inducer motor. There is a sparker in there that is sparking. Our pilot gas comes on, and like I said, it typically on this type of a system, it takes 30 to 45 seconds for that pilot to prove. It opens up a closed pair of switch and closes an open switch, and that will allow the power to come to our gas valve and for our burners to come on. After the burner comes on and the blower motor comes on, there is a data tag right here inside the unit, and that gives you a temperature rise on this furnace. On this furnace, the temperature rise is acceptable anywhere between 30 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So there is a couple of numbers that could be below or above. If the temperature rise is below 30 degrees, I just heard the click, the burner should come on in a second. If the temperature rise is below 30 degrees, that means your fan is removing heat too quickly, which is okay, you can drop the fan speed. The problem is if our temperature rise is above 60 degrees. If it is above 60 degrees, that means you more than likely have a dirty coil because of your filter. Either your filter is completely plugged or you have a dirty coil. We can check, take a look at the filter. The one that we cannot really inspect is going to be your coil, and that is why it's important to have check the temperature rise. The temperature rise is done by using two thermometers. One is in the return air plenum where the filter is, and that is your return air, and then the next thermometer is placed past the coil, and that's your supply temperature. We can either put it up there or we can go to one of the supply registers in the house. We then measure the difference between the two temperatures. The air from the house taken should be heated up by 30 to 60 degrees and put back into the house. If it is higher, then you have problems. If you do have problems, by all means give me a call. ARA Heating and Air Conditioning. Your flame is steady, so your burner, your blower motor just came on, and if you look at your flame, you're going to, because they have dust in there, eventually will burn it all off and it will be a nice blue flame. And this is steady, the flames are steady. If you had a crack heat exchanger, your flame either be coming out or it starts getting sucked out of the burner. It starts lifting off the burners or comes back at you looking for oxygen. We do not have either condition here, so that tells us our heat exchanger is in great shape. Of course, I have to run it for 2-3 minutes to make sure that heat exchanger is nice and warm enough, because sometimes a heat exchanger that is cold and has a crack does not show that crack immediately. It will take a few minutes. And it is very important to have it at least checked once a year. I mean, if you haven't checked it for a long time, at least get it checked. I mean, as you can afford it, but it is definitely recommended to have the unit serviced twice a year, once for heating, once for air conditioning. So for do-it-yourselfers, if you decide to do the maintenance yourself, like I said, you clean your filter, your blower housing, make sure everything is nice and clean, you put it back together and you run it. You can check your temperature rise, and basically the same service also needs to be done for air conditioning. The blower housing has to be lubricated, cleaned, and put back together, because that's the one component that is shared with both air conditioning and heating. Once that is done and you check your temperature rise, and the temperature rise is not too high, or you are not happy with your system performance, okay, that is time that this coil probably has to be looked more closely. This has to be taken apart and cleaned. I do not recommend taking stuff apart by yourself, because like I said, this is your combustion gases, and they contain carbon monoxide. They're poisonous, and if you do not put it back together, you can not only risk your own life, somebody else in your household, even if it's a pet. That involves more into cleaning. So if you need help with that, please give me a call. Again, my name is Ali, ARA Heating and Air Conditioning in Irvine, California. Our phone number is 949-861-8848. You can call me directly on my cell phone if you like, 949-468-8380. Thank you. Have a nice day.